Hey yo, it's Guido coming at you with the tactics, talking a tank review of a brand new tank. I feel sorry for this tank a little bit. It only had its day in the sun for about 3 days. And then it was completely overshadowed by a double-barreled Soviet tank. But we're going to do a review of the E75 TS, which is actually a pretty decent tank. I did not like it when I first started playing it, but we're going to talk about why and some of the things you need to think about when you're playing this tank. It is a heavy tank. You can see it's actually got a pretty good 3D model on it already. Wargaming's doing a lot of work on the 3D modeling. It's cool that it's got some of that 3D stuff going on already. Side skirts, kind of a low-esque, a Lurva-esque turret. It's an E75 body, but it's fast. So it's kind of an interesting combination, and that's part of why, at least initially, while I was learning how to play it, I didn't like it too much at first, but I will tell you that it's actually a pretty darn good premium tank. And well, let's just leave it at that. We'll get to my other thoughts on it when we get to the end and I wrap this thing up. But like most German tanks, it's a big boxy guy. It just has a more rounded turret, and that is nice. That is very nice because it doesn't have things like these flat weak spots that are thickly armored but relatively flat and easy to pin. This thing is more like a Lurva with that kind of curved turret, and it does work a lot nicer as far as the turret goes to be able to bounce. So this thing was, if you look at the details, it's a upgrade of the E75 or a further modernizing of the E75. There were plans to mount a gas turbine engine and a shielded cast turret. It existed only in blueprint. So it's a blueprint tank. It's sort of a Lurva turret, but not exactly if you look at how much rounded this thing is. And then we get over to this, and it's quite a bit square and larger. But it's more or less the same gun. And what's interesting is it says it's the same gun. 10.5 quick L73 and a 10.5 centimeter quick L70. It's actually, what, 3 centimeters or meters, not meters, centimeters shorter, isn't it? That one says 73. There you go. I didn't realize that. And this one says 70, which gives the gun a little bit more punch. But we'll take a look at that as well. So standard for my reviews, we'll do the quick overview, which we just did. All right, the overview's over. You're done with the overview. We'll look at the tech tree considerations for it. Look at the 3D model, provided I can find one. We'll look at a comparison amongst its peers, my stats, my setup, and then I'll give you 3 examples of driving the E75 TS, the brand new German premium Tier 8 tank, which is really sort of a heavium from the other direction, right? From the heavy direction, as opposed to an E50, which is sort of a heavy and a medium. This is a heavy that fights a lot like and has mobility a lot like a medium. All right, let's take a look at the tech tree. We're just going to get through this real quick. It is a radio operator tank, so it's got 5 crew members. There are a lot of German heavy tanks, so you'll just have to mix and match as required. For example, I believe it's the same setup as the Tiger II. Yes, absolutely. So commander, gunner, driver, radio operator, loader. Most of the German tanks are like that. Some of them have even an extra loader in there as well, so you're just going to have to kind of move that around. Some of the more modern ones, I don't know if a German heavy tank ever gets to 4 crew. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. The E100 has 2 loaders, for example, like I was mentioning. So I don't think, as I recall, there are any 4 crew German tanks. How about the Tiger 1? Does it work for a trainer? There it goes. All right. I was just reading, by the way, that they are going to completely revamp the crew system. So that's supposedly coming in 2020. But for now, obviously, it's got a radio operator, but it's a pretty good match for most of the German heavy tanks. So as far as a crew trainer, again, that's something that's not as important as it used to be. And who knows how that will look when we get a new crew system. But for now, for the E75 TS, it'll work just fine for your German crews. And that's all I've got to say about that, because it doesn't have any modules, it's a premium, blah, 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 blah. I have had too much coffee today, all right? Too much coffee. We're going to move on to the 3D model. Let's see if we can find that thing. Excellent, excellent. Tanks.gg does have the model. What you'll notice here is just a fantastically strong turret. Does a pretty good job with that. It does have a weak spot up top on the hatch. And, of course, the standard boxy German armor on the front, while it is angled, you'll notice that you have to get quite a bit of side scrape before you start getting good bounce angles, and then that exposes the whole flat side right there. I am unsure. Somebody hopefully can fix me down in the comments whether this provides any kind of spaced armor on the skirt right there for dealing with heat. Unsure on that. Now, obviously, when you get to the side, then the turret is relatively thin and going to get pinned. And it is quite large. Plus, this is just a big tank anyway. Kind of a big billboard side right there. So it is fairly easy to pin from the side. But with a little bit of angling, it can get some decent armor right there. But that turret is where you're going to have some pretty good strength. Now, remember, hitting number 2 at tier 9 and 10 is going to butter through most of this. In fact, a lot of tier 10s have enough penetration even with a standard round to go through this thing's turret. The good news here is that there's a lot of weird angles. And anytime you get this rounded stuff going on, and while it's not the dome round like the Russian turrets are, which causes all kinds of problems for pinning, it's at least round around the sides right there, so you can get some pretty good bounces off that. If somebody starts shooting you near the edge of the turret, of the curved turret, then definitely all kinds of ricochets. Anything look down is going to help you with the lower plate as far as making it stronger. Anything where the enemies look up or your look down is going to increase your upper plate, but obviously decrease the lower plate. It has 8 degrees of gun depression, so while that's usable, it's not as comfortable as 10. 10 is pretty much the most comfortable. Obviously more is nicer, but 10 it allows you to use most of the terrain in the game. 8, you may have to do a little wiggling and figuring it out, but it's not as bad as, say, 6 or 5 like some of the Soviet tanks. So there you go on the model. Let's move on. All right, let's take a look at the comparisons here. I've got the E75 over on the left side. These are all 100% cruise, but no perks, no skills, no equipment, no food, no camo, provided the camo can be taken off of it, which I believe it can be in all these cases. So the E75 TS is on the left. I've got the Lurva 1 tech tree tank, the Tiger 2, which is more or less what it resembles. Got the Renegade, which is another new premium tank recently out. T26E5, one of the better premium tanks for the Americans that people will compare it to a bit. The Object 252U, which is obviously the OP guy. The 50 TP PR, which is a decent premium. And of course now we've added the 703-2 122. I will do a review on that as well. So we take a look at it. The cool thing about the E75 is it's dropping 360, so a little bit longer gun, I guess, is getting you that extra 40 alpha than the low at 320, the Tiger at 320. The Renegade, interestingly, is also 360, a relatively recent premium that comes out. The little pew-pew gun of the T26 down at 240, the 252U, excuse me, at 440, as well as the PR. So in between the little pew-pew, a little bit better than a Tiger and a Lurva, but at 360, that's pretty good fear factor. Of course, you got the old 122 at 390 over there, the ubiquitous 122 of the Soviets. The average pen's 227. We'll take a look at the gold later, but it's considerably higher. That is okay. That's in the ballpark. So you look at all these, it's actually near the top of most of these guys. Rate of fire is decent, right in the ballpark of all these. Obviously, the T26 reloads much faster, much faster. Gun loading at 10.83, it is faster than the low and a little bit slower than the Tiger 2, and it is slower than the Renegade. So really the Renegade and this thing are to some extent comparable. They're both mobile heavies, which fight a little bit more like a medium, but have some of the capabilities of a heavy as far as bouncing goes. I would say the Renegade overall is a slightly better tank, but it is kind of the Renegade style of tank as far as gameplay. Turret traverse is at 22, which is not great. You know, the Renegade's very comfortable in snapshotting and moving the turret around. This thing's at 22. Kind of a weakness of most of the German tanks is that their turrets are slow. There's that -8 gun depression. Yeah, a little bit painful. Not at -10 like the Renegade or even the low at -10. And only 15 degrees up, and that is unbelievably bad. That is not good at all. The low can look up 38 degrees, which is insane. Okay, aiming time, this is interesting. Aiming time and dispersion. The low has a smaller dispersion at 0.32, considerably smaller, slightly longer aiming time, but is a much more comfortable gun. So between the soft stats and the 0.32 being just a nicer start as far as the dispersion goes, you don't notice that 2.74 aiming time as much as you do on the E75 TS. It is a bit of a derpy gun at 0.36, and even with a 2.4 aim, which looks fast, it takes a while to aim in and get an accurate shot. I'm talking probably, I think most of the CCs are starting to agree with this, about halfway at least zoomed in before you shoot. It does not snap very well. You would think it would with the Lurva's gun, but not so much. Not so much. So be careful. The gun will troll you a bit. DPM is right in there at 1900. Although, look, the Renegade, you know, it's just head and shoulders above. Almost what? Well, not almost, but over 200 more DPM there with the same alpha, right? 200 more DPM with the same alpha. It's just straight up better. If you look at the gun handling stats, 0.36 and 2.4 are exactly the same. I would say that in practice, the Renegade, based on probably soft stats, is just a plain old better gun than the E75 TS. Hit points at 1500 is low, although there are quite a few 1500 tanks in here. So the other two German tanks have more. Everybody else sitting at 1500. All right, armor. This is interesting. I talked about the turret. It's pretty darn good at 230. Definitely usable. Look at the Renegade at 250 and the 252 at 250. So the turret is usable. The hull is pretty bad. It is pretty bad. We looked at some of the angles, so you can do some side scraping with it. It's only 80 on the sides, so it's not as nice as the Lurva at 100. You just have to be a little bit more careful. It's not a fantastic side scraper, and the armor is, especially the hull, is a little bit iffy and will let you down. But the turret, if you can use hold down positions, will work out for you, and of course you're going to want to side scrape as much as possible. It's fast. It's nicely fast. It's 45 fast, the same as the Renegade, and 18 backwards. So you are going to be able to get where you need to go. It has medium speed, right? It's a slow medium, and it's got a good specific power and engine power, which means it will get up and move quickly. So it will get to its top speed pretty quickly. So very nice. And it will do 45 straight across. It's not a 45 downhill or anything like that. So that it does get around, and it's a lot like the Renegade in that respect, that it can move around the battlefield pretty easily. Concealment, it's a heavy tank. It's terrible. View range is at 390. It's not as nice as the low at 400 or the Renegade at 400, so it does fall down a little bit there. And so if you just look at it, it's a lot like the Renegade, just a little worse in some cases. It doesn't have a tumor on top. It does have a little hatch. But the Renegade, I think, in all cases is a slightly better tank. But this one's not bad. It is not bad, and it is like a big old heavy, or a big old medium, sorry. Kind of interesting, actually. Let's take a look at my stats. So I played 21 battles in this. I think I had 20 set up, and I was going to do this, and then I streamed, and somebody wanted to see this played. So I played one more. 62% win rate at 1,035 average XP. That's about right. Probably overperforming a little bit. Solo for me, this may be a 58 to 60% tank solo. Anytime I get above 1,000 average XP at tier 8, then I feel like I've done pretty well. The DPM or DPG, damage per game, is at 1958. That's decent. It's decent. The 100.1 is at 16. The 7501, another recent tank that I've reviewed, is at 1687 with a similar win rate at 28 battles and a little bit lower than 1,000. So that checks. The Tiger 2 is at 1693 and the Lurva at 1783. So I'm actually a little bit overperforming the rest of my tier 8s right there. Working out pretty nicely. 454 on the assist is okay. It's looking good in the hit rate, although it's a little lower than I would like. I'd rather that was closer to 78. If you look at the low, I'm up at 80 on that. So this speaks a little bit to the trolley gun that it's got. Armor use is at 0.55. That's actually pretty decent. Pretty similar to the low, actually, at 0.52. So while I say the armor is a little bit tricky, it mostly has to do with the whole armor. The turret is where it's at with this thing. 1.52 damage ratio, destruction at 2.58. I managed a 4,986 damage gain, which is actually right up there near the top of my tier 8, so that's actually pretty good. So overall, battle survived at 38%. That's in the ballpark. I'd like to be somewhere around 40% with most of my tanks. So did pretty well. The first 9 games, like I mentioned earlier, I did not like the tank. I went 4 and 5, and things did not go well at all. But I definitely turned it on in the last 12 battles after that, and I climbed up from a 1,300 to 1,000 DPG up to a 1958 in 12 battles. So that means I was having some pretty good battles and starting to learn the tank, and that's pretty typical of most tanks. You're going to have to learn as you go, but it is right in there with the rest of them as far as stats goes for tier 8, especially for the Germans. If we look at the Renegade, so we're at 62%. The Renegade, I'm at 56 and 2,000 DPG. Similar numbers, slightly better armor use. That's what I talked about. The armor's a little bit better and a little bit easier to use on the Renegade. The assist is about the same, and the other numbers are similar. Even the hit percentage is pretty similar right there. All right, let's take a look at my setup. When I first started using it, I was not using chocolate, and the gun was trolling me. I decided, well, let's go ahead and go full try-hard mode. So what I'm using is a rammer, a vert stab. It does have vert stab, that's nice. And I have vents. I think a lot of people will probably use optics. So I think that third slot could be optics, if that's what you want to do, if you want to maximize that kind of thing. I have large kits. I ran a large fire extinguisher, or an automatic fire extinguisher, for the first about 10 battles, and I switched over to chocolate, which of course is expensive, and I'm running a directive of experienced firefighter. So if your crew isn't firefighting, then you may want to do that. And I think this will actually help you if they are firefighting, help you burn a lot less. And I don't know, maybe do I have firefighting on these guys? Doesn't look like it. Nope, I haven't used firefighting, and I don't put that on crews very often because I don't get, there's so much other stuff to use except for some of the, you know, loaders and things like that. So that was my setup right there. You can see the crew is my Tiger 2 crew. It's the same crew I've used in my Lurva for a long time, so it's a 6-skill crew working on their 7th, so I put a good crew. This is a pretty try-hard setup right here, and I carried 10 APCR. So somewhere between 6 and 10 I think is a good place. A couple HE rounds just in case I'm going to need that for a reset or something like that. At 120 or 10.5, so on a 105, that's about where HE becomes semi-effective for that kind of thing right there. So that is my setup. Let's take a look at a few battles. All right, here's one of the first games where I did okay. I'm in Erlenberg. You can see that I am in Erlenberg. Spawned into the north spawn, and we're gonna use a little bit of oh, got lucky. He moved forward. That is mostly my problem on the gunnery, not the gun. You can see if it's fully zoomed in, it's reasonably accurate. Trying to sneak some shots into this bulldog as long as they're lit up there. You do want to try to punish those guys and keep them lit and from the east side over there. Because if they get free reign to start shooting into your side, it can be a bit of a bummer. So good news is the mod 1 and the lighter over there kind of keeping them busy. We got multiple guys in front of us. There's a mutant, some other things. I'm having a little bit of trouble with this 705. I don't know what he's doing. Trying to figure that out. We got a mod 1 on our side. So you do have to be careful if I get lit. I know there's an ISU up there, and the last thing I want to do is eat a big hit from the ISU. So we back out. We got a mod 1 right there. We got artillery raining down. It's chaos. Trying to figure out a way to get rid of this guy. Oh, wait a minute. There's somebody. There's the ISU. It's hard to use this road. It definitely is until you can get past up here. I'm going to try to sneak around. We'll just sneak one right into the T-34. And boom, there's 800 from the ISU. Just shot me from across the entire map. That little tiny spot right there. Scorpion G up there, ISU, we had all kinds of guys. I'm trying to, oh my gosh, dude. I definitely hit him. Obviously it says 363. He was outside my view circle, but he was not outside of draw distance. Somebody had him lit, so I get the little message telling me that I did damage to him. ISU is backed out. Now we got a guy up on the side. Standard B is actually on the side of the mountain there. So let it zoom in. Again, when it's completely zoomed, it actually does a pretty nice job. That wasn't quite completely zoomed, but it was close. I'm looking for a shot on the standard B. We got this guy cruising around. We'll just put a little shot into him. That ends up killing him. That's where that 360 alpha shines for this tank. You get tanks down to that area and you can take them out. So obviously the more alpha your tank has, the better, kill shot you've got. Look at this guy coming in. I eat a shot from him, and I'm thinking, well, this is the end of that. I'm in big trouble, so I'm just going to actually try to go hide behind these buildings right here. I am worried about being shot in the back. So when you've got that alpha at 360, there's just more near deads you can take out, right? If you're shooting a 240 alpha, then, they're sitting at 300 hit points. You need a really good high roll. There's just a larger range of near deads that you can kill. And this is really dangerous. If I get spotted here, And I'm worried about the mutant driving up and proxy lighting me, so I'm just going to keep on backing out of this as best I can. Now, this is not featuring this tank's mobility very much. The next replay, I'll kind of show what its mobility can do. This is more playing as a heavy. But it's got a pretty comfortable reverse speed of 18, I believe. So it's able to get out of things if required. I'm just waiting for an opportunity to come around that corner and shoot. I can see that we've got a defender going in there, and I think they're pretty busy now. So I'm going to come in here and maybe try to sneak a shot on the mutant. I hit him, but unfortunately it bounces even though it's the side of his turret. So either got into his mantlet or maybe hit a little low onto the hull, which is heavily armored. There's still a standard B up there, an ISU, and I think a Scorpion. So I'm still kind of vulnerable to being shot in the side if I get spotted here. 50 TP is hold down, now he starts to move out of there. Defender went in and did some good work, but I'm not able to kind of poke down that road because I'm sitting at 375 hit points, and most everything here has got plenty of oomph to go through and kill me. Now, unfortunately, he saw me cross, and I was really hoping to get across there without being seen. But I'm going to move up in here and see if we can't help take down some of these guys. The defenders got them busy, so we'll just kind of sit here for a second. There is artillery, unfortunately. Shot goes in. I sneak one right into the turret, it looks like. Get a 345 roll. Defender's busy. Defender takes a hit. So the mutant has fired, so I'll just come in here and try to get into that turret again. We'll take him down. And there's the artillery, so it takes a chunk, and now I'm down to easily splashed by the artillery. So we're going to get on out of here and fall back. Good mobility, right? So I can get around. I get spotted by... I'm not really sure how I got spotted there, to be honest. I'm sort of just waiting for the artillery to take me down. I find that guy up there. Now there's a snap that worked. Take a bit of a chance sticking the front of my tank out here. I'm thinking somebody might be coming down this road pretty quick. But I really want to try to take the opportunity to get rid of that guy. So we'll back out of this. I would have loved to go help the defender, but there's too many hit points over there. And in any event, about the time I thought about it, he gets taken out, and the AC-48 is somewhere nearby. And I am assuming he's over on my right somewhere. The WT is in the bush. I'm just hoping I don't get spotted right here by the AC. Trying to get turned around, so I'm just going to fall all the way back into these bushes. And again, this is kind of where the mobility of this thing, you can see that we're trucking along at, what, 38, 40 kilometers an hour. So I'm able to actually fall back from there in a fairly reasonable time frame. So we'll come back to this bush, and now basically we just got to wait for these guys to walk into us. We've got a 40-43, there's a Scorpion running around out in the open. And I'm just waiting to see if somebody's going to come through these buildings right here. There's the other Scorpion up top. Both teams have an artillery, so that's probably going to go poorly for one or both of them. Looks like maybe he's pushing. I see a tree down right there in front of me. So I'm thinking, all right, there is somebody there. I'll come up a little bit. Our Scorpion wins that fight, at least for the moment. I was hoping that guy would actually push through the middle here and start going towards the cap. I've got to check both ways. I know that the AC is over there somewhere. And I figure obviously the TP and the 103 are going to be trying to work through the middle. Scorpion's kind of running around. We're really split up. And then I see this guy. He just comes out in the open. That's exactly what I wanted right there. We kill him. I probably could have just let the WT kill him instead of get lit. Because what I'm really expecting here is just to get artied and killed. And I'm very surprised I did not. So I don't know if they already saw the WT. Looks like he did take a hit. So I'm going to come back around this way and see if we can find... Ooh, and then we find the 103. Trying to get into his lower plate, but oh, and it goes high, unfortunately. And I thought this was it. 3,000 damage. Surely Artie's going to hit me. Maybe the WT can take a chunk. He did. Try to shoot him in the top of the turret. That not really a great shot. He misses, which was amazing. He doesn't ram me, which is what he should have done. And I'm just going to out-reload him. But didn't matter because the WT got the kill anyway. Now we've got the AC coming in. and he's intent on punishing the WT. I take a hasty shot right there. I should have probably been a little bit more careful in the aim, and the Artie absolutely massacres him with that hit. Try to go for the view bar on the top in the middle. I don't quite get there. He's moving around trying to survive. I'm feeling like he's probably used all his shots because he's sort of hiding right there, and boom. Let that fully zoom, and finally the accuracy works out for me. I don't think we actually find this artillery before... No, we do not find the artillery before we run out of time. And we end up winning. So there you go. Playing it mostly as a heavy, using a little bit of its maneuverability, not a lot. What did we bounced nothing, so everything that hit us pinned us. Alright, so there you go. The armor's not fantastic, depending on what's shooting at you. Let's take a look at the next one. This one I named the mobility is nice, and I wanted to show you guys this one because it does show its capability as a more mobile tank. Where with an IS, myself, a Suma, the RPZ, and the A44, and a Leo. And for the moment, I sort of come up here just to be a little bit careful. I didn't really intend immediately to Wolfpack, but then when I saw the Challenger going there, and I'm seeing a bunch of mediums with us. Plus, I want to check out the speed on this thing and see if it's really got the capability of getting in there and trying to Wolfpack a little bit. The Suma drives in and doesn't take any hits. So I'm all of a sudden thinking, well, based on the setup, they probably don't have a whole bunch here. KB3 is out in the open. He drives out there. And now I'm seeing all of our guys pile in. And I'm late to the fight. So I'm thinking, all right, this is going to work out. Hopefully this IS doesn't go out here and stop. He doesn't. He pushes. And I'm able to keep up. I unfortunately cannot get a shot past this guy. And I miss. There's that derpiness of the gun. I'm just going to hang out in here. See if we can't get the shot on the back of this guy right about. There we go. And we've got the ISM. So ISM is a relatively slow tank. He shows up behind there. We've got however many of us there are here. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've taken some hits, but I'm just going to go ahead and bull rush in here on this ISM. Just take a shot on that guy and go by. Force him to make decisions. I'm getting shot at from the other side. The Comet's got a shot on me, so he does that. The ISM fired, so we're just going to push in at him. I try to track him right here, and I actually completely miss, unfortunately. Our Leo hits me. So I'm going to come around here. Spotted the Su-14, who actually ends up living longer than I thought he might. I take a hit right there from the Emil. Now there's a T-29 plinking away with the small 76 over here. And now I'm in a little bit of trouble. Kind of got guys on both sides. I'm going to try to sneak a shot in the IS, but I can't get him dead. It bounces. There's the Su-14-1. I'm surprised he's still alive. So we've created an advantage here, but it's not an amazing advantage, and we have actually lost some hit points doing this. Clearing their arty from the board was good. They've got a good chunk of guys hanging out in the factory right there, and unfortunately for the poor red team, they have a significant amount of guys who never left cap. And when you get a wolf pack like we've got going, and you gather up about 3/4 of the map, 2/3 to 3/4 of the map in map control, it's very, very difficult to come back from that, especially when there's already 5 of their guns off the board, and we've only lost 1. Now this is hard to push here. There's that T-29 because I'm going to get shots at me from these guys over here. There's the T-29 in front of me here, right there, and I don't know what's over in those bushes and with not a lot of cover. So what we need to do is get rid of this T-29 as fast as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and see, there I go. I'm starting to take hits. I'm going to go up and try to cover up into this little niche, into this little nook right here, where I can take on the T-29 and try to minimize my exposure to the rest of them. And this is a bot or just a super bad player. I actually bounced the bottom or the top plate of that. Unfortunately, what a sad sight that is, a T-29 with a 76mm. Now I'm getting into his lower plate, which works out nicely. I get a little over aggressive here coming in, thinking, all right, let's test out this armor on this thing, and blap, blap, just like that. A Saint Emil and a Sturv go right through me. So I've got to go ahead and cover up. We've taken some more hit points off the board, though. Somebody very nicely moves or removes that destructible building, and he has no more cover. You see that I bounced the Hellcat on the turret. So as long as I can keep my turret exposed and not my hull, I have a reasonable expectation of not getting penned by things like Hellcats or tier 7 and 6 tanks. So I'm going to hang out right here and keep myself behind this bush. I'd love to go where the IS is, but that Emil is what worries me. And the Suma drives in, and unfortunately he's seen by multiple TDs. Everybody in a bush, and he's way out in the open. He's not long for this world. He's backing up, trying to wiggle, trying to jiggle, and down he goes. So clearly the Sturv is back in there somewhere. The Saint Emil hit me. There's the Super Hellcat's back there, so I know all three of those TDs are back there. The Emil is in the factory, and the T-20 in the Mod 1. And I figure that the Comet's also in the factory because I got hit from him over there. So the Emil's getting pushed in a little bit. T-20 dies. Looks like the Scorpion and the Renegade are doing some good work actually up in the north, because they're kind of outnumbered over there, but they're slowly whittling away, and there goes the Mod 1 right there. The Renegade takes them out. So they really did a nice job right there working together to clear off that north area. You can see our guys are moving through the west, through the bushes. So I'm just hanging out here waiting for somebody to get lit. If I break out into the open, I'll take shots. And all of a sudden, we find the Comet, Cupid, Donner, Blitzen. We let it zoom all the way in. Nice little shot in there, 354. He backs out. Punished him pretty well for that. Now we've got a target over here. The Emil is trying to make a runner. We'll take a shot, and it goes low, unfortunately. Looks like it tracked him. So we're getting some assist damage right there. Then down he goes. I see the Sturv and the Hellcat are lit. They're outside of draw distance, so I can start moving. They're also well outside of the spotting, so I've got a lot of terrain I can make up here and try to put them inside the draw distance. All of a sudden I find him. I don't know what this guy's doing, but try to sneak one in there. Now we're getting a little close, and a little close to where the Emil might be able to see us. I almost had a shot on that guy. He takes a hit, gets lit on fire. I really want that Emil to go away so I can start working in towards the TDs. Probably being a lot more passive than I need to be right here. Probably could have went and got a few more hit points. We're at 3,243. We've actually bounced some this game at 855. The Emil dies, and now it's just raging in here and trying to get a shot. And I don't know if I can get one. I don't think I make it. As the RPZ comes up and over, and we've got all kinds of guys with shots. They all take hits. I'm coming into zoom, and I just about the pickle, and hey, I did get it. Never mind. I didn't realize that. 3,334, 3 kills, and a better idea of its mobility, right? So that initial push in there with a fairly mobile, maneuverable heavy tank, it's kind of comfortable. I was able to get in, get around the ISM pretty easily right there. So a good example of this kind of heavy that actually is a bit mobile. You know, it reminds me a little bit of an E50. It does with leaning more towards a heavy tank than an E50, but it does remind me of kind of a tier 8 E50. And I would say as a medium, a lot better than a Panther 2. Definitely. Let's look at the third one. This is my first ace in it. It's in a loss on Tundra. We spawned into the north, and I'm coming down to the brawling area over here on the west. And what I wanted to do here was check out the turret and see what it could do. Turns out that I don't quite get the fight here that I thought I might. It becomes a much more mobile kind of thing. I bounce off of the Su-100M1. And I guess there's a little bit of a scrum here right on. Fairly quick reload. Come in here with the turret. Angle, just sneak in and start punishing this poor Tiger 1, and we get a bounce off that turret. And there's a great example where the turret is working pretty well. Tiger's got decent penetration, but all he can really see is my turret. So I sneak out and get into his flat plate, and I'm spamming gold at the poor guy. He takes a shot. He takes another hit. I've got him down to a 1 shot, so we'll just come out here and almost got him. Really low roll at 307. That was a bummer. Now we've got the 4, so we'll just go ahead and look to take shots at the tumor on the top of the KV-4. Huge weak spot for that poor tank. Otherwise, a really cool tank, but that weak spot. I don't know if this guy just quit or what. He just comes charging at us as well. And I let him go by, you know, a little bit of a little bit of the matador there, and we take him down. And now we just got to figure out how to pick apart the Su-100M1, which actually has some pretty darn good armor. he's backed up onto the hill. That flat plates that front sloped armor a bit, and I'm able to get a shot. I really don't want to take a hit from him. He hits for about 300 or so. I don't want him to hit me if I don't have to. Now, I look at this, go, okay, we've won this, but it looks like the hill's in trouble, and they've got quite a bit of power in the middle. But, of course, my team pushes in TDs that are going to be sitting there waiting for them, as opposed to changing the battle a little bit. Now, look at this mobility. Nice speed. Come right around here. And that's one of the reasons I felt like I was able to do this, is because this thing's mobility is so good. I sort of misplayed this T-28. Come around here, looking at the IS. I can see the T-28's cornered. He's taking on the Scorpion right there, the little baby Scorpion. The guys are coming up behind him, but I just charge at him, and I know I'm going to eat a shot. I'm thinking right now, all right, we got this dicked. We're going to win this. I'm just trying to survive this. And, oh, man, I thought for sure I'd get by him. Not quite. Just come around here and shoot him into the upper hole. And this was a mistake going high, because I eat a big shot from the Scorpion G. And now I'm just trying to get down into this lower space here. We've got 2,733 damage. And it's kind of in hand right now, but we just really play this poorly. I've got the IS. I'm going to try to sneak some shots in there. Get one into his turret. Like I said, decent gun handling if you let it zoom. So I'm just trying to just show my turret. We'll just sneak in here and pick apart this IS. Still, things are looking okay. 5 to 6, so looking good. Just get rid of this IS here. There we go. No problem. But it all goes pretty pear-shaped here pretty quickly. The IS goes down. Scorpion G goes down. Come around this way. We find the artillery. This is great. I balanced the artillery naturally. Armor not penetrated. I'm just charging at this guy. I try to make this shot as difficult as possible here. And I'm actually just going to take it on the run. And unfortunately, this is where I make a mistake. I just press up in here, and it's not a great spot to be pushing up on these guys. Can't really find a target, but I'm definitely spotted. The FV sees me. Super Hellcat bounces. Boom, hit. I get the FV, but I ate 336 damage right there towards the end of the battle that I did not need to eat. And things are looking okay, but we got a lot of low hit points, guys. And I don't know what this Super Pershing does, but he ends up getting waxed pretty hard. So I'll fall back, try to find some shots. We're at 4,206. I get lit, so I just need to keep on trucking. I just don't want to get hit from that hill. That hill actually has some pretty good shots, even back in this area back here. So I'm going to use this rock to come up closer. There's the Saina Mill. I mean, we've got a Ferdinand, we've got a T26 E4. It just feels like everything's working really nicely right now. But they're all together, and we're sort of around in different places on different sides of them. The Ferdinand gets completely crossfired, and I can't do anything to support him because I'm a one-shot. So he's in a terrible position. He's going to be gone pretty quickly. And our Scorpion G, which I have not mentioned, I actually got a nasty gram from him afterwards. I sneak one into the Mod 1. He just sat back there the entire time. Now he's dealing with an EBR Hotchkiss, but man, that was rough. I can't quite get to the Mod 1, and I'm looking at this going, well, that's the end of that. He's just going to charge in. He'll be able to take one hit, and I will lose. I try to track him, but that doesn't work. He comes in here, and he misses, which worked well, and I just ram him to death. So don't ram big, heavy tanks with your medium tanks if you can avoid it. And I make a giant mistake right here because I know that the IS-2 knows I'm here, and he knows I'm at near 0 hit points. And instead of just running away, as soon as I killed that guy, it was fine to see if I had a shot, but I should have just headed off this way. Just dive right down and go somewhere else, because what ends up happening is at 4,986 damage, the IS, there's 3 of them, so I know they're there, boom. I know where the 3 are, and I let the stupid IS, this clown just drives up behind me and takes me out. So 4 kills, 4,986. It can do some brawling, but this was a great situation for it, right? I could go to a place where they could only shoot my turret. They didn't have a whole lot of really heavy hitters. Their KV-4 just droned in on me. You know, there was a lot of things going right there. I gave up some hit points in a couple places I shouldn't have, and I definitely misplayed that end part, allowing that IS-2 to come find me, because clearly he was going to do that. I should have dove down here and headed back. Get closer to the Scorpion, or maybe swing around and try to help the Super Pershing, because this thing actually has the mobility to do that. So I really wasn't stuck there, and I just failed to get moving. All right, let's wrap this up. Well, there you go. E75 TS German premium heavy tier 8 tank. Pretty good tank. Pretty good tank. Not as good as the Renegade, I think, but it is a German tank. So if you're a German tank afficionado, I think it's a bit different. You know, the Marbrecher, the 7501 are just these big, heavy behemoths that can't get around the battlefield as a heavy tank. The Tiger II is okay mobility. The low is a little bit slower. The 4502, really nobody plays. This is a mobile German heavy tank, which is a little unforgiving in the whole armor department, so it has to be managed, but overall, the whole package is pretty nice. Gun is a little bit derpy, but you can work around it. Make sure you try to minimize things as much as possible with it by running food or having a good crew and using the right perks or directives and things like that. But otherwise, I think you're going to enjoy this tank quite a bit. Fight it, hold down as much as possible. And then hold down in this case is just hiding the hole, really. Just, if you can only expose the turret, you're going to be doing some good things. Well, that's all I've got, guys. Thanks for coming by and checking out my review of the E75 TS. Good luck out there with the boxes and getting a hold of one of these things. I will have a review for the Russian tank who quickly came in and stole the limelight. So poor old E75 TS was only in the limelight for a few days. That's all I've got. We will see you later.